That'll be a lot for you, but
6 a.m. Woo-hoo.
or
Next Monday I could. Let me think, because the month.
or come in when you want.
Yes, gotcha.
Just make sure there's a filler.
Right.
There's gospel fillers. Make sure one of those is in on repeat, obviously, and not single. Take it off single. You know how that is.
Mm-hmm.
And just come in when you want. That type of thing. Let me know which day.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, I'll have like Tracy or somebody come in and fill in if they're available.
Starting now. Things that hurt you in the past won't control your future. Starting now. This is a new day. This is your exodus. You are officially released. Now sing it for me, Leandria.
This is my exodus. Thank you, Lord. This ain't Rance, is it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, surely is.
Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Porter. Oh, yes. Like a vase that holds a flower.
154.
Once a seed, but now it blooms. Can I get a witness? Yeah. There is a season, a set hour. Yes, it is. And it's victory
Can these bones live? You see they're dry. You see there's no marrow in the bone. You see they're scattered all over the valley. They ain't even full skeletons. I mean, the bones are scattered all over the valley. They're just bones. But answer me a question, Ezekiel. Can these bones live? Ezekiel answers the only way he knows how to answer. Lord, you know. Critical race theory was born out of critical legal theory. Am I teaching y'all something today? There emerged two common beliefs linking all critical race theories. First, white supremacy has subordinated black people and other people of color. That's just a fact. How in the world are you going to fight against that being taught in any school? White supremacy has subordinated black people and other people of color. That's a fact. Why don't you want that to be taught in school? You let your schools teach us that Columbus discovered America. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that George Washington couldn't tell a lie. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that some slave owners were beneficent and good slave owners. There were no good slave owners. Anybody who owned people was evil. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that Abraham Lincoln was good for Negroes. No, Abraham Lincoln was trying to save the Union. And Abe Lincoln himself said if he could save the Union and keep black people in chains, he would do it. That's a lie. Come on, somebody. You let them teach us about a white Jesus. You let them teach us that Native Americans were the aggressors. Come on, somebody. That white folk had a manifest destiny and that the Pilgrims were good to Native Americans. That's a lie. All day, every day, you let them teach us lies. All throughout my history in school, I was taught lies. But you got a problem with critical race theory because it teaches the truth that white supremacy has subordinated black people and people of color. The right to bear arms. Let me just back up a little bit and let me take you on back to the late 1960s when Ronald Reagan was the governor of California. And they were oppressing black folk, and a group of men and women known as the Black Panther Party decided that they were going to defend the rights of black folk. And the Black Panthers decided that the Second Amendment wasn't just for white folk. So they strapped themselves with guns and showed up at the Capitol in California. And when they saw them Negroes with guns, come on, somebody. That's why I say if you ever really want to get gun laws changed, just strap all these Negroes up. They'll change them laws before the week is over. When the Black Panthers, watch this, I want you to read, the California legislator passed what was called the Mulford Act. It was a gun control act that decided who could get guns, who couldn't get guns, what could be in your background, what couldn't be in your background. It was the first time in history that the National Rifle Association, the NRA, supported restrictive gun legislation, all because black folk had the nerve to get strapped. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, go get strapped. Amen, somebody. Y'all gonna say Bishop told us to get strapped. I said it. Go get strapped. It just got real quiet up in here. But y'all already know I'm a triple P. Amen. Y'all know what a triple P is, right? A pistol packing preacher. Amen, somebody.
Thank you, Jesus. You've got a responsibility to go back to Lodabar. Your work's not done just because you made it to the palace. Bless the name of the Lord. But you've got a responsibility to help somebody else make it across. Thank you, Jesus. Don't pull up the ladder because you climbed to the top of it. Don't blow up the bridge because you made
What's happening, everybody on social media?
Thank you, Jesus.
What's up, Instagram, Facebook? Rep your city, rep your town. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Y'all know what to do. We're getting ready to dig into this.
Thank you, Jesus.
We getting ready to dig into this conversation, y'all. Let's get it. I see y'all coming in on Twitter Spaces. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the space.
Just hold it for me. I'll be there to get it after a while. Oh, bless the name of the Lord. Thank you, Jesus. You got to make up in your mind that what God has for me, it is for me. I might not have it right now.
Let me see if I can convince my granddaughter to read the weather for me. She here acting all shy, y'all. We're gonna see.
I want you to know after a while, I'm gonna get what belongs to me. Sometimes God got to strip what you got so you don't depend on yourself. You got to take away from you so you understand how to depend on El Shaddai. Come on in here.
All right now.
All right, take care now.
Have a good one.
You too.
Thank you, Jesus. Our young people are dying. Cracked out.
Pull up.
Suicide. Homicide. They'll kill you at the drop of a dime.
Sound like your mama.
Our jails are full. Yet the crime still runs rampant.
What's happening, y'all?
Sometimes God got to strip what you got so you don't depend on yourself. Thank you, Jesus.
90.7 WTCC. Good morning and welcome to the Spoken Word. I'm your host, Bishop Talbert Swan II. And as usual, we'll be telling it like it is through cultural idioms and nuances that shape the order, ethos, and chaos
of the African American experience. Words have their own vitality. They shape their own consciousness and create their own context for interpreting social and spiritual reality. The spoken word contains the power to reshape the landscape of society. 5 minutes past the hour of 9 a.m. And I want to thank Mr. Kenneth Barnett for bringing us up until the 9 o'clock hour with the promise. You can hear the promise every Monday morning from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., bringing you the best in gospel music. Good way to start out your Monday morning. Great way to start out your week. And, well, you know, it's good to be back in the studio because I've been gone for the last few shows, vacationing and stuff like that. Took a little trip out to the vineyard with the family and got some rest and relaxation in. But I'm back in pocket right now. And I'm ready to go. Ready to go. So listen. We're talking today about exploiting Black death. And how we should beware of those who purport to speak on behalf of the Black community, but who are actually doing more harm to the Black community. A lot of people got rah-rah language, you know, that make you think they're standing up for Black people because they do a whole lot of condemnation of white this and white that and all of that, but they're not really for Black people. If anybody spends most of their time attacking other Black people, they're not benefiting the Black community. And we'll talk about it. Most of this is going to be local stuff here. But for those of you who are chiming in on social media, I know you're going to, what I'm saying is going to resonate with you because my city is just a microcosm of other cities and towns across America. And so what's happening here, I'm sure, is happening in your city or your town, the Black community, wherever you live as well. So you'll definitely be able to vibe with what we're talking about today. Do me a favor, like, share, subscribe, comment, share, rep your city, rep your town. Let me know exactly where you are chiming in from. Always love to see where my peoples are chiming in from, what part of the nation, what part of the world, all of that stuff. So do that now. Do that now. Go on in, rep your city, rep your town. I know without even looking, I know H-Town is in the house. Y'all ain't even got to tell me. I know H-Town is in the house. The field better be in the house. Because if y'all ain't in the house, there's gonna be some consequences and repercussions. We're gonna have some problems if y'all not up in here with me. 413-736-2781. Once again, 413-736-2781 is the number here. We got some time to make up. I know people have been asking me, well, I thought you were on the air. Yeah, we got this thing called pre-recorded shows and stuff when we're not in the studio. So you have not had me live for a minute here. But you got me today. So anything you wanted to ask me about anything that's been happening in the city over the last couple of weeks or so, I'm in here right now. 413-736-2781. Don't y'all touch that dial. Don't y'all go nowhere. We'll be right back.
don't seem right. We can't make the difference. We stand up and fight. Police brutality. We can't watch this for long. We gotta stand all across this world and show that we are real strong. Bonding together to make a great change. Putting our trust in the one above to help us stay sane. Everything that you do, you can lean on me, I'll lean on you, and we will get through. United we stand, divided we fall. Things work better together. Stand for one and for all. Things don't seem right. We can make a great difference if we stand up and fight. Stop the shooting and killing each other. Let's spread the love of Jesus and go to heaven together. Once had a dream that things would be fair. About the grain of our hair, color of our skin, but the Lord that's with me. There's a thing that will do. You can lean on me, I'll lean on you. We will get through. United we stand, divided we fall. Things work better together. Stand for one.
All right, y'all, rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you're chiming in from on social media.
Yeah, the Bible says man days are few and full of trouble.
That's Tupac Night rapping right there. You out there too? All right, I need y'all to buy a badge on Instagram. Come on, support your boy. You gonna read the weather for me? Roxy LaPearl, you gonna read the weather? Yeah. Yeah. Sit down. I ain't gonna mess with you.
Stand up for your right. Stand up in the fight. Stand up for righteousness. There's a war being waged against our community. When we will prevail. Stand up.
All right, I'm about to rip this spoken word piece now, y'all. Check it.
The enemy has worked overtime to divide us. Through this nation, he's tried castration, lynching, miseducation. We were taught to hate ourselves, to look at ourselves through tainted lenses. They put us in prisons, devalued our intelligence and moral worth. They considered us inferior, tried the poisons of self-hatred, distorted history and false standards of beauty. They told us we were ugly and stupid, slow, dim-witted, and worthless. But if we hold on to God, we'll realize that we're valuable. If we weren't so valuable and didn't have the potential to be so powerful, the world would not be so bent on exterminating our very existence. So I came to tell you that we may have struggles, there may be hardships, but day by day, one step at a time, we push to survive. We continue to work. We learn how to
Twitter
thrive.
Spaces, rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you're coming in from.
There is a way against these odds, and it's through our God. Our crowns are made of gold, our resilience like stone. We are kings worthy of abundance, the greatest warriors this world has known. It's not what they call us that makes us like pure gold. It's the gift we are that makes us special. We are fathers, uncles, brothers, cousins, sons, nephews, husbands, and friends. We are the reason our people will never accept defeat again. We keep our heads up high, although deep inside, sometimes we want to cry as they try to keep us chained and bound, cutting off our feet, trying to keep us down. Yet we stand up for our women, for our children, our communities, and our friends. We stand tall as examples and as a legacy to other young men. No man, no woman can stand on your back unless we lay down on the ground. Our people need us to lift up our voices together and make a certain sound. The sound of peace, justice, unity, and love. A sound echoed with passion and empowered from our Creator above. The sound of iron sharpening iron. Men protecting, fathers directing, brothers respecting, and all of us expecting our children to rise, our wives to smile, our families to thrive, our neighborhoods to be safer, our situations to get better, because we are brothers together, holding each other up, supporting each other, loving each other, defending one another, and staying connected to a God that has anointed us, appointed us, lifted us, gifted us, empowered us, inspired us, saved us, raised us, and made us to be men of integrity, men of character, men full of the Spirit. We've got dreams in our hearts, visions in our minds, a charge to keep, a God to glorify, a sermon to preach, a song to sing, a way to walk, a trumpet to blow, a life to live, a family to raise, a world to change, because we're the head and not the tail. We're above and not beneath. We are directed, protected, selected, born to win, chosen to conquer. Come here, MC Hammer. We're too legit to quit. Come here, Rakim. We ain't no joke. Come here, LL. Oh, we're mad because united we stand.
Yeah, let's get it, y'all. All right, let's get it. About to go on the air. Yeah.
I look in the mirror and I like what I see. A strong, beautiful black woman staring back at me. One who's seen a lot of pain and had her share of sorrow, but who never gave up hope for a brighter tomorrow. I've been lied to, cheated on, stolen from, and hit. But it just made me stronger, and I refuse to quit. That's right. And though I've been tempted, I refuse.
All right. Rep your city, rep your town. Let's go.
I wasn't good enough, cute enough, or worthy of love. I kicked his butt with divine power from above. Power that says I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me, and brought me out of darkness so that I could see that I'm smart, I'm beautiful, I'm a child of the King. Abundant love for me he came to bring. Oh yes, when I look in the mirror, I love what I see. That strong, beautiful black woman, that woman is me.
90.7 WTCC. Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to the Spoken Word. I'm your host, Bishop Talbert Swan II, and I see y'all piling up in here from all over the place. Welcome and thank you for being with me for another edition of the Spoken Word. I see H-Town deep in the place. Welcome, H-Town. I see St. Petersburg, Florida. I know it's Florida. I just know somebody who used to say Florida. But anyway, St. Petersburg is up in the building. Chicago is in the building. The Field 413 is in the building. I see you, baby girl Whitney. My daughter is in here from the Windy City.
Let me see who else we got up in here. We got Toronto, Canada in here. We got Knoxville, Tennessee in here. We got Milwaukee, Wisconsin, my cousin out there. Chi-Town in here again. New York is up in here. Greenville, South Carolina is in the building today. Hawaii is in the building. Man. Must be nice. Welcome. I can't pronounce that city in New Jersey, so I'm just gonna say somebody from somewhere in New Jersey is up in the building. H-Town again. H-Town always stay deep in the building. Who else is in the building? Where y'all at on the gram? Come on, Graham. Rep. New Orleans, Louisiana is on the gram. Toronto, Canada is on the gram. Johannesburg, South Africa is on the gram. St. Louis, my frat brother from St. Louis, our frat, is in the building. Leesburg, Virginia is in the building. Another St. Louis is up in the building. Maryland, but they're on a cruise now. Enjoy your cruise. I see you, Mark Bayman Jr., on the gram. Good morning to you. I see you, Crystal from Rock Island, Illinois, up in the building. I see Orlando, Florida is in the building, up on the gram. Yeah, the gram is repping. They repping their city. They repping their town. Where y'all at in the Twitter space? Where y'all at on YouTube? Rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where your town. I even got H-Town on the gram. H-Town be deep up in here all the time. St. Louis is deep up in here today. Columbia, South Carolina is in the building right now. Welcome from wherever you are from. Thank you for being here and vibing with me today. And my foray back here into the studio after I've been gone for a couple of Fridays and a couple of Mondays, but I'm back in the saddle, and good to be here. So let me tell you what has been happening here in my city, and probably been happening in cities and towns across America. There's been an uptick in terms of gun violence and several murders that have happened over the past several weeks. One of them was a relative of mine, cousin of mine, whose funeral I preached just last month. I was invited to attend a press conference that was being held really to condemn the current administration for not doing enough to stop gun violence. Now, I was honest, and see, one of the reasons why I can talk about things openly on the air is because it's not the first time you'll hear it, because what I say over the air is what I'll say directly to people. I'll say it right in their faces. So there's no surprises. Now, granted, I was invited to that press conference at the last minute. When I say at the last minute, the evening before. They were having an 11 o'clock press conference, so that evening before is when I got an invitation to come, and if I came, we'll let you speak. So the press conference had already been planned. They had already decided the agenda, and then I came as an afterthought, and likely as an afterthought because there was some communication between me and some others who had been invited, and I let them know candidly what I felt about it, and I'm sure there was an exchange with what I said to them and the organizers that prompted the invitation for me to come, because I definitely was not on the list to come originally, and that's okay. It's okay. I don't have to be, but I want you to understand the context, because you've heard some scuttlebutt about, oh, there was a wager made and I bet that Bishop Swan wouldn't come and blah, 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 blah. No, first of all, I'm busy. Okay. You can't reach out to me at 6 p.m. the night before you plan something at 11 o'clock the next morning and assume that it's even available on my schedule, even if I wanted to come. Okay. You know, so this whole thing about I bet he wouldn't come is bogus. It's bogus. That's not how we do business. Okay. But what I did say directly to who invited me was I had an issue with the fact that I felt like the deaths of Black people was being exploited for political reasons. And it's no secret, we're in the middle of a political campaign. People are running for mayor. People are running for city council. You know, people are running for office. And whenever there's a political campaign, of course, you know, people are looking for reasons to get their message out, looking for issues that they can speak to that will keep them in the forefront, in the minds of people as they're gearing up for an election. I mean, I know how the game is played, and you all know how it's played as well. And so what I said in plain English was, listen, most of the people who are slated to speak at this press conference, whether they were elected officials or grassroots folks or whatever, have not reached out to the families that have been affected by this uptick in gun violence. They haven't reached out and offered their condolences. They haven't attended the funerals. They haven't talked to the family members or anything, but you're going to go have a press conference and use the recent deaths as a political cudgel to go against the current administration. And it's not about supporting the current administration, because the one thing that you all know is that Brother Swan is not shy about speaking his mind, regardless of who the politician is. And this whole notion that because my organization, Kojic Family Services, has been awarded a contract for ARPA funds for our chronic disease management program, that my silence has been bought. That is utterly ridiculous. You all know the track record. I've lost money from this same administration because they couldn't buy my silence. Okay? I haven't had funding in the, they've been in office, this administration, 14 years, and at least 12 out of the 14 years, I haven't got a dime, because early on in this administration, they took my CDBG funding for one of my youth services programs because I wouldn't shut up, challenging them on certain issues. So to suggest that somehow all of a sudden, after 30 years of activism, after proving over and over again that I can't be bought, that I can't be placed in anybody's pocket, to even parrot the narrative that my silence has been bought and I'm scared to speak against and yada, 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 is ridiculous. Is ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. Okay? Because I can say, without beating my chest, without saying it in a braggadocious fashion or anything, the foremost voice for police reform, against police brutality, against corruption in government, and for the betterment of the Black community in this city, in this region, has been me for 3 decades. So to sit here and play like, Bishop Swan, and then also my brother, my frat brother, Minister Johnny Muhammad, who is the minister at the Nation of Islam, the same thing. He and I have been on the forefront for years. And to suggest that we've been bought is ridiculous. So I'm going to deal with 2 things. I'm going to deal with the exploiting Black death. Then I'm going to deal with the hypocrisy of those who are out here saying that they want to challenge the administration to provide resources to the black community to use the American Rescue Plan Act, the ARPA funds, to give to black organizations so that they could serve the black community. But then when they do that, then they complain about the black organizations that they give it to. That if the black organizations, if the heads of those black organizations that receive the funds have not unequivocally committed to support their preferred political candidates, then those black people are bought and sold by the administration and they're sellouts. You can't have it both ways. You can't be out here talking about get the money to black people and not those black people, our black people, because then you're not advocating for the black community. You're advocating for your people. And let's just keep it a buck. Let's just keep it a buck. Because some of y'all ain't advocating for the black community. You're advocating for people in the black community who kiss your behind, who you can manipulate, who you can control, and who support you politically. It's not about whether or not those black organizations do good work. It's not about whether they're servicing the community. It's about whether or not they politically support you. And then for those of you who are out here parroting a narrative that those organizations that are getting money, they're using it to support their family and bolster their lifestyle. That's because y'all are dumb. Yeah, I said it. It's because you don't know how grants work. I had a back and forth with a gentleman, who was talking about what he would do if he got the money that we were getting. No, Negro, you wouldn't do that. That's not how grants work. You don't get grant money and just do what you want to do with it. Grant money comes with conditions. There's a contract. There's contractual obligations. There are deliverables. There are reports you have to file, deliverables you have to meet. And in most instances, you got to spend your own money and get reimbursed. That's how I can tell who the ignorant folks are. The ones that are parroting a certain narrative and the ones who are repeating that narrative. Like Dominic Sarno just writes you out a $300,000 check. Here you go. And you go put it in the bank and then you just do what you want to do with the money. That is not how grants work, dummy. 413-736-2781. But let me back up. Let me back up. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get there. Let me read the op-ed that I wrote last week while I was on the vineyard, because I felt compelled that I needed to respond. Because so let me give you the chronology again. So after that press conference that I talked about, that I did not attend, Mayor Sarno wanted to meet with several of us to strategize around gun violence and public safety. So me, Minister Johnny Muhammad, LeVar Click Bruce, and Carlos Gonzalez met with the mayor. Minister Johnny is the leader of the Nation of Islam. They've been boots on the ground for years. We worked together going back to the 1990s. All right. So when people tell you that, they don't know anything about the streets, blah, 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 while they were running around selling crack and in and out of prison, the nation And my people, when I was working at NES, and I created the Reverend Theodore Brown Anti-Gang Initiative. And we had people on the streets negotiating with those that were in the gangs. Go back and check the record. Yeah, Google is your friend. Me and Minister Youssef, Minister Johnny, have been working in those trenches for years. And so based on our experience and the advocacy that we've had for years, we agreed to meet with the mayor. You all have to stop just believing sound bites and not doing research. The late Bishop J.O. Patterson Sr., who was the presiding bishop of the Church of God in Christ, said this, and unfortunately it remains true to this day. If you want to hide something from black people, put it in writing. Because it's like many of y'all just won't do your research to really get the truth of the story. Because, you know, I asked this question, you know, when it was being said that those of us that were in that room, you know, we don't do no anti-gun violence work. You know, we haven't been out there in the trenches. And you got to watch the source of those folks who parrot that narrative. Because, you know, when I think about gun violence advocacy over the years, I'm not talking about what somebody did the last couple of years. And it's always these Johnny-come-lately actorists who have no body of work, who haven't been out here, who just got here late to the party, that want to start criticizing what people who have been holding up this community for decades are not doing. You know, while they were running the streets, in and out of trouble, and doing nothing, we were out there. When Taheem Goff was murdered, I was there. Where were you? When we were marching with the family of Mario Hornsby, who was a victim of gun violence, where were you? When we were fighting against defeating Stand Your Ground legislation that was filed and supported by a Western Mass legislator, right on the heels of the Trayvon Martin murder, in which George Zimmerman got away with it because of Stand Your Ground legislation in Florida. They were trying to pass that here in Massachusetts. We rose up against it and we defeated it. These folks running off at the mouth were nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. When Sheldon Innocent got murdered in a barbershop, and we were comforting that family and working with that family, Archbishop Timothy Paul and I eulogized that young man. You were nowhere to be found. Good morning, caller. Okay. 413-736-2781. Challenging Smith & Wesson to invest in gun safety measures, to invest in communities, particularly here in Springfield, that are most affected by gun violence. NAACP was there. Pioneer Valley Project was spearheading it. Where were you all? So to suggest that people with a 30-year track record, 20-year track record, a 15-year track record of advocating against gun violence are the people who have no experience is just revisionist history. It's a lie. Good morning, caller. Okay, so y'all don't like what I'm saying. I guess we're going to get the prank callers today. 413-736-2781. That's just revisionist history. So we met with the mayor. LeVar Click Bruce is a sitting city councilor who's heads the public safety committee of the city council. Why shouldn't he be at the table? Carlos Gonzalez is the chairman of the Joint Committee on Public Safety for the Massachusetts Legislature. Why shouldn't he be at the table? So after we had that meeting, good morning, caller. Yes, you're on the air.
Hi, who do I speak to about I guess having someone to look at my car about?
Okay, you're calling the wrong number. I'm on the radio. We're live on the radio. You got the wrong number. Black people. So after that meeting, the mayor decided to expand the conversation to include some more community stakeholders. So he called for another meeting at the Barney Carriage House this past week. I wasn't there because I was on vacation. And there was going to be a press conference basically to condemn who was at the meeting and who didn't get invited. Now, if you wanted to complain about not being invited, that's one thing. But to condemn the 27 people who were invited and to paint them with a broad brush and say none of them have experience working against gun violence, none of them have been affected by gun violence, yada, yada, yada. Negroes are just making stuff up. There's a minister there whose nephew was murdered by gun violence. My cousin Tanya Barber, who is a public safety, a public health expert who runs the Caring Health Center that was founded by my father. Her nephew was just murdered a month ago. Her other nephew is walking on a walker now because he was wounded by gun violence shortly before that. So there were all kinds of people there who have advocated against gun violence and whose families have been affected by gun violence. So to make that blanket statement and paint that broad brush just to sell your narrative that we're the ones who belong here and not them is divisive. Now, if you wanted to say we should be at the table, fine. But to try to dismiss those who were at the table, you are the tool of white supremacy, because what you're doing is you're trying to divide the Black community. And what I said in my, let me get back to reading my op-ed so you get the full understanding. So what I said in the op-ed is this: the city of Springfield is a microcosm of urban centers around the nation suffering from the scourge of gun violence, particularly in neighborhoods impacted by social and economic inequities that can be traced to racism, segregation, and current discriminatory policies like redlining, exclusionary zoning, and mass incarceration. Gun violence is a multifaceted challenge that demands a holistic set of solutions to stop the cycles in impacted communities. In addition to limiting easy access to firearms by high-risk people, we must address the underlying social economic inequalities that fuel gun violence, adequately fund community-based violence intervention and prevention efforts grounded in evidence that build authentic relationships with those impacted, support local organizations that address the social and economic inequalities at the root of gun violence. In order to foster solutions, we must work together regardless of political affiliation and without other agendas. Politicizing Black death, trauma, and pain to gain exposure and to advance a political campaign is short-sighted, selfish, and disrespectful to families suffering loss and experiencing grief. Now, let me pause right there, because I was asked, well, not really asked, I got a message with someone who wanted to know who I was talking about right there. I'm talking about who I'm talking about. If the shoe fits, wear it and be comfortable. If it doesn't apply, let it fly. Let me continue. I'm committed to work with Mayor Dominic Sarno and any other elected official or community member to address this serious problem in our city and reject political antics by those attempting to malign the character and cast aspersions on those of us who have chosen to release personal agendas and work with the administration to save lives. Now, let's just, I'm gonna pause right there. Let's just put it like it is. We have a charter that gives us a strong mayor form of government, which means the mayor holds the levers of power in this city. He controls police commissioner or superintendent, whatever you want to call her nowadays, where resources are expended, and so much. And to suggest that because you have serious political differences with a mayor, that you just shouldn't work with him at all when he holds the power is very short-sighted. Very short-sighted. And to suggest that if you work with the mayor on reducing gun violence among your people, that somehow you're a sellout is very short-sighted. Because whether you like it or not, right now, he is the mayor. Period. So are you suggesting, hey, just wait until you get him out and then work with somebody on gun violence? You know, I don't ascribe to the politics that because you have disagreements with certain politicians, that means you don't work with them at all. That's a very childish way of doing business. And that's a problem. See, Black people, we're relational people. And oftentimes when we fall out with somebody, that means we can't ever work together ever again. And I know, because y'all do that with your own family members. You fall out with them and you don't speak to them for 20 years. So I get the mentality that, well, how are you going to work with this mayor? He's a racist, or he lets this racist police superintendent do AB. He's the mayor. He's the mayor, and you're going to get very little done in this city without working with the administration in way, shape, or form. The mayor in this city controls everything. DPW, public safety, the health department, the parks and recreation, CDBG funds, the ARPA funds. So you can walk by and act like, he doesn't control those things all you want, but that's the reality of the type of government that we have. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
I'm not a gun guy. I don't own a gun. I never shot a gun. And you keep saying gun violence. I didn't know that the gun obviously is what people use to kill another person, but the gun can't pick up itself and shoot itself.
Who suggested that it could?
No, I'm not saying you're suggesting it, but I mean.
But you're taking issue with me saying gun violence. What do you want me to call it?
Violence.
Utilizing a gun, right?
Well, whether you're utilizing a gun or a knife, here's the point. I know you love the city. I know the mayor loves the city.
But it's not gun violence.
No, it's violence.
It's not gun violence. Okay, this semantics, bruh. That's semantics. That's semantics. Stop it.
Well, you can't fix the problem because.
And you can't fix. Do you even live in Springfield?
You don't crack down.
Wait. Answer the question. Do you live in Springfield?
No, but I did.
You don't live in Springfield. See, you call my show every single week, and your crusty, cornstarch behind don't even live in the city. Shut up, man. 736-2781. Yeah, this dude calls in every week, trying to lecture me about the city that I live in, that I have lived in my entire life of over 50 years, that I have raised my children in, that I own property in. You ain't gonna lecture me about Springfield, dude. Cut it out. 413-736-2781. Let me continue this letter. The allegation that no one invited Mayor Sarno's roundtable have been directly impacted by gun violence is false, has been erroneously publicized to mislead the public. Not only have members of my family been past victims of gun violence in this city, most recently on June 11th, 1 month ago, my cousin Jatan Pearson was murdered at 29 years old, a victim of gun violence. I preached Jatan's funeral on June 21st. As a minister who has comforted families affected by gun violence across the nation, advocated for them, and eulogized their loved ones, I categorically denounce divisive attempts to polarize the Black community and exploit Black suffering by those seeking elected office. In order to reduce gun violence, we cannot play the politics of division. Everyone must be on board: the mayor, police superintendent, elected officials, clergy, social service agencies, community leaders, the community itself, and activists. Everyone must be committed to a strategy focused on a specific goal. We owe it to our children, our seniors, and the entire city to work diligently towards solutions that will allow residents to live, work, and play with less fear of the kind of gun violence that is now routine in our city and across much of America. Now, that was the op-ed that came out, matter of fact, the day of the meeting at the Barney Carriage House. So that was my take on exploiting Black death. I just don't think it should be used as a political football. I think we all should work together to deal with that scourge. And if that means gritting your teeth and working with folks that you have a problem with politically, so be it. So be it. It was once said that if you were drowning and someone was going to throw you a rope, you wouldn't stop and ask that person, are you a Democrat or a Republican? Are you a Mason or an Elk? Are you a conservative or a liberal? You wouldn't care if they were Black or if they were white. You would just say, throw the rope. I'm in a desperate situation, and I really don't care who helps me out of this desperate situation. And when our children are being murdered, we're in a desperate situation. Okay? And so if you want to condemn me for working with this mayor, that's fine. I got a thick skin. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I've criticized this mayor and I'm sure I will again. But to make a suggestion that somehow a measly grant has bought me, then I guess you're a fool, because I'm not for sale, and if I was, it wouldn't be that cheap. Wouldn't be that cheap. So let me read my spiel on the ARPA, and then I'll come to you all. I see you all in the Twitter space trying to get in on the conversation. 413-736-2781. Here's my take on the ARPA. There's a scripture that says a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. You can't say one thing and do another and be stable. You can't have it both ways. You cannot sit here and advocate for and talk about how ARPA money should go to Black organizations. And then when the ARPA money does go to Black organizations, you slander the leaders of those organizations that receive the money as being bought and sold by the administration. I mean, which one is it? Should Black organizations get ARPA funding, or just the Black organization whose leaders support you politically and who you can manipulate and control? Because that sounds like hypocrisy to me. If a Black organization whose leaders support you receive funds, then it's deserved. But if a Black organization whose leaders don't publicly commit to support you, then they're sellouts and they're bought and sold. That's not advocating for Black people. That's advocating for your people. And that makes you no better than the people that you criticize. No better than the people that you criticize. Why would there be criticism of a Reverend Steve Williams, who don't bother nobody, and who's not an overtly political person? He's in his corner of the city doing good work to benefit those in his community. So he got $1.3 million to expand the services of the J.C. Williams Community Center, and he's being criticized for putting in his application, qualifying to receive the funds, and getting a contract for the funds. Why is he being criticized? Because he's not publicly supporting a particular candidate? I mean, and here's the thing. The same critique that goes to Black people who you can't manipulate never goes to the white organizations that receive 10 times the money. You got nothing to say. You ain't got no smoke at all for organizations run by white people that are receiving ARPA funds. But going through a list to criticize the Black people who don't politically support you. It's going to be a long road between now and September 12th, because for a while, I said, I'm just going to ignore it because, and then there were questions going around. Yeah, I heard about y'all. Why isn't Bishop Swan talking about ARPA? I'm talking about it now. Perhaps not in the way you thought I should talk about it. But I'm talking about it now. And I'm defending Black organizations who got their ducks in a row and who are taking advantage of receiving monies that's our money in the first place. ARPA money don't belong to Dominic Sarno. It belongs to the people. It's taxpayer money. Taxpayer money. Nobody's getting a gift from Dominic Sarno to be quiet. We're getting our money to support our community, to provide services to our people. And if you think I'm going to apologize, or anybody else is going to apologize for getting our money to provide services to our community, well, you got another thing coming. And once again, for those of you who don't know how grants work, maybe one day I'll do a show and give you the ins and outs of grant writing, receiving grants, spending grant money, and all of that. because y'all that are bumping your gums don't know what the hamburger you're talking about. Once again, most of these organizations have to spend money that they have and then submit invoices and backup documentation to get reimbursed for that money. Ain't nobody writing them a blank check and saying, go spend it like you wanna. And you can't take grant money and just do what you want to do with it. Particularly federal money, unless you want to go to federal prison. So y'all stop listening to these Johnny-come-lately and these ignorant folks who don't know what they're talking about. Vote Constance. You're in the Twitter space. Good morning.
Yes, Grand Rising Bishop. Thank you so much for giving me the floor. Yeah, I just wanted to add to that, kind of like what's going on in here in Knoxville. I know I tagged you recently to your memoir that you put up addressing this particular thing that's happening on your community ground, but it's very simple to what we're dealing with here in Knoxville. But the issue that we're having is what you talked about earlier. Our administration is refusing to work with those voices that have been critical and opposition normally to our administration, and have instead used our violence interruption as an opportunity to tokenize Black people who say that they're about the work of the community, like you already highlighted. They either have never done this work before or have not had a history behind the work, and then they have been taking money. We're talking about up to a few millions of dollars, that I'm sure that your city, like our city, has been using funding from the DOJ. You know, the DOJ launched an initiative about gun violence and things like that, and opened up funding for local municipalities to use. And so that's where we've been getting a lot of our funding from. But we had a recent incident where at our youth rec center, the YMCA, or the Y, y'all all have in y'all cities, where we had a young person bring 2 guns to the rec center and shoot a young person. And now our community is in outrage because we're not seeing the results of our violence interruption. We are seeing our children continue to engage in violence. And more importantly, the safest places, which is our rec centers in our community, are now actually under threat. And so I feel like there's still a significant conversation that has to be had in Black communities around violence interruption, around our people who are leading that form of interruption. And more importantly, again, the partnership the city is selecting to have in those relationships in our communities to address violence interruption. And so I feel like there's still a 360 conversation that has to be addressed. There's your side of the fence, and then there's my side of the fence that I'm dealing with too. And like you said before, this is a multifaceted issue. There is no one-size-fits-all solution. And we have to find something that's going to work, because as you highlighted before, this is a crisis not just in your city, not just my city. This is happening in Black neighborhoods across America. And so I'm listening to these type of spaces to hopefully hear and learn what is the solution. And I will definitely watch in Springfield, Massachusetts, on what you all are doing as I move into the mayorship in my own city. I'm running for the race as we speak right now. And I'm looking for ideas everywhere on how we can address gun violence in Black communities across America. Thank you for your time, Bishop.
All right. Thank you, sis. Appreciate you so very much. I wish I could piggyback on some of what she said, but yeah, definitely. And we've got some of that here. And if the critique was about what you talked about, then I would be in complete support of that critique. But to just randomly start critiquing Black organizations just because they got money and they haven't declared their support for you politically, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. We ought to be bigger than that. James Lewis is in the studio. He's coming up next with mid-morning jazz and great Black music. I'll be back with you on Friday. On the Black Love Experience. Maybe I can get my granddaughter to read the weather or something on Friday. She's sitting off in the corner. You're not even gonna come get in the camera and show people your face? None of that? No, she got her headphones on. Anyway, my granddaughter Roxy is here for the summer, and so she's hanging out with Papa in the studio. I'll see y'all on Friday, all right? Until the next time I talk to you and you talk to me, always remember, God loves you, and so do I.